All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I am your host, John. And if you could kindly hit that like and subscribe button. Here we welcome all, sinner and saint, friend and foe. Oh, look, I'm not perfectly coiffed. I had to move that. Friend and foe, sinner and saint, we welcome everybody. And we try to have a little more raw, unabridged, honest look at what's going on in the world of politics and actually media too. I think media is kind of bought off. You know, I don't even need to look at Jake Tapper to see what idiots reside in that ecosphere. You know, the vanity and the narcissism is just, I think it's more paramount than what actually goes on in reporting the news. But there is good reporters, don't get me wrong. I love 60 Minutes. I love a lot of the Daily Beast is amazing. Huffington Post is pretty good too. But we forge on. You know, we're living in a difficult political time, and we're just trying to find some answers, and we're trying to find some hope. You know, it does seem like everything's smacked against us, but like I tell everybody, you know, if you look 4 years ago where the Republicans were, you know, they had lost Congress, they had lost the Senate, they had lost the presidency. Trump was in Mar-a-Lago. You know, you see all these political pundits and they talk about, oh, the Democrats need a voice. They need this. You know, right now we don't have a voice. We have a collective, and different people have different perspectives. There is no voice because we don't have a nominee for president yet. That is going to be the person who carries the mantle of our party. Now we have a lot of people who are going to put input into that. We're going to have a lot of decisions that have to come up. But honestly, in 2026, when we're going up, when we're dealing with the Senate, we're dealing with all the House races, this is going to be a referendum on Trump. And unfortunately, I wish it wasn't going to be as obvious as it is, but Trump is just heading us into a dumpster fire. I mean, he is just, he literally has the car and there is no brakes. And he doesn't know how to hit the sidewalls. This guy is going 120, doesn't know how to slow down, and we are just going to burn it all up. We're seeing it, and we're going to have to pay the price when this guy is just reaping the billions of dollars that he ripped off from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, from the meme coins, you know, whatever. He's going to be enriched. We're going to be a poorer nation. Hopefully we can save democracy. I do believe we can. This is our moment. We will get there. We're taking no prisoners. We're telling no lies. And let me tell you something. We burn it all to the ground. And if you don't believe that, who else do you know wears long sleeves in the summer? Okay? So I'm obviously a wild man. All right? So you beware. If you're just coming into this political podcast, I don't know what to tell you, man. Good luck. All right. So the lead story on Wednesday night is in a return of one of his most controversial policies. Donald Trump announced that he is banning 12 nations, including Afghanistan, Haiti, and the Republic of Congo, for their citizens from entering the United States. Now, he tried this in his first term with the Muslim ban. There was pushback from the courts. It really didn't get anywhere. He framed the new restrictions, which primarily target African and Asian nations. You know, the African ones, the ones he called shithole countries. Remember those? As necessary to fortify national security and combat terrorism. Now, as with anything with Trump, there is no statistical backup for it. There is no actual facts. It's all feelings. It's all, I got a gut instinct. I want to become, you know, homophobic. I want to become racist. I want to become xenophobic. I guess that's probably the better term here. Nations of the 12 countries will be barred from entering the United States are Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea. What the hell is that? Eritrea, Eritrea. I have no clue what that is. Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Okay. All right. Now he's got these countries, right? Now, where he's framing this from is he says that these countries pose a threat, their nationals, their citizens pose a threat to the security of the United States. He has that right, okay? The travel restrictions are set to go into effect 12:01 on Monday morning. In the video, the White House shared Wednesday night. Trump called the travel restrictions a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil. Okay? Just remember this as we continue through this story. He began the message by pointing to the Boulder, Colorado attacks, where a man injured at least 12 people in what city officials call an anti-Semitic attack as justification for the renewed travel ban. Okay? Okay. That's what he's using. All right. You know, honestly, it could have been some guy cutting off some guy on Fifth Avenue. He didn't really need much justification, and he actually didn't use any facts. He said a recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. Now, like we talked about in the election, he made Mexico the bad guy. He said all these illegals are coming over the border. 80% of illegal aliens in the United States are people who overstay their visas. Almost all of them come here by plane. And they come to visit their relative in New Jersey, they go visit their sister in Oregon, and they got a 6-month visa, and then it's over, and they go, I don't really want to go back to Poland. I don't want to go back to, wherever. And they just stay. Come and find me. Good luck. Now, going back to the Colorado attack, the suspect in that attack, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, is from Egypt. He entered the country on a tourist visa before he applied for asylum. His tourist visa expired as his asylum case was pending. Egypt is not on the list of countries under the newly announced travel bans. So Trump is sitting here saying we've got to prevent things like Boulder, Colorado, but the countries he banned, this guy who did the terror attack wasn't from there. I mean, what kind of ass-backwards thing is this? Now, the Cato Institute is a libertarian, right-leaning institute. It is definitely not a liberal institute, okay? Alan Norwash, he's the vice president for economic and social policy studies inside the Cato Institute. They claim that they're nonpartisan and independent, but they lean to the right a little, but not a lot. Okay, they're not like the Brookings Institute or the Heritage Institute. Just a little to the right, just a little. And he was talking about Trump and his terrorism-related ban here, right? He said, now this is him doing extensive data on Wednesday night. He says a single terrorist from those countries murdered one person in an attack on U.S. soil in the last 50 years. Emmanuel Kadega Samson from Sudan, who committed an attack motivated by anti-white animus in 2017. Who was the president in 2017? Yeah, it wasn't Joe Biden. The annual chance of being murdered by a terrorist from one of the banned countries from 75 to the end of 2024 was about 1 in 14 billion per year. 14 billion. Yeah. That's how much, if 14 billion seems like a familiar figure, that's how much Trump made from his little meme coin. Okay? Son of a bitch. Corrupt son of a bitch. All right. Let's move on to the next story, and let's talk about that. Elections do have consequences. And in the 2024 presidential election, there was a lot of things that disappointed me. I think the thing that really, and I missed this, so I'm not gonna lie. I thought Joe Biden, I thought Kamala Harris was going to was going to win the election because of women. And if you look at the demographics, educated women are gravitating more towards the Democratic Party. Men are gravitating towards the Republican Party for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into all the demographics on that. But I thought that the women were going to carry the election because of the Dobbs decision that came down in 21, right? Which basically said, hey, women, you don't have the autonomy over your own body. Okay? The state can tell you what you have to do with a child when you are pregnant, when you are carrying it. And I've relayed the story about my beautiful niece in Arizona had a miscarriage, and Arizona is very draconian. And she had the miscarriage, and they were not able legally to take out the fetus. She had to go to Colorado to get the fetus taken out of her that threatened her life. Now, this was the year 2024. Like, what the fuck? It's so effing outlandish. I can't even get my head around it. That they are going to have somebody's life be threatened because they are not going to take a dead fetus out of somebody's body. You know, sepsis is a real thing. So, let's head off to where this story is going. Oh, and going back to the 2024 thing, sorry, I'm like a river. I just head everywhere I can. Is there was more women in 2024 than voted for Trump in 2020. And the Dobbs decision came out in 2021. And I didn't see that coming. I thought women were overwhelmingly going to vote to protect their own reproductive freedom. And sadly, that's not how it worked out. You know, it did. One of the most outlandish things was that women, especially in states that were blue, California, Oregon, Washington, New York, states like that, more women voted for Trump. And I guess the reasoning, and I'm not like I'm interviewing them all, but the reason was, well, hey, I'm cool in my state. He's not going to come here. He can't do anything here. So I'm cool. So F every other woman in every other state. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's all about me. It's all transactional, I guess. But let's go back down to where this story is coming from. West Virginia, which has some of the most stringent anti-abortion policies in the nation, is now preparing to start charging women for disposing of fetuses from miscarriages. Oh, God bless them. Now, West Virginia, I've been there. It's an economically challenged state. It's in the bottom 10 in terms of it's in terms of economic income for each citizen. Poverty levels, it's in the top 10. It's in the bottom 10 in terms of income. It's a very difficult state. And coming from California, you almost can't understand what some of these states look like. I've been through parts of Mississippi. I've been through parts of Kentucky. I've been through parts of Ohio that literally they look like a third world country. You go through the Appalachian Mountains, and there's some really rough areas. I mean, there's poverty in the big cities in LA and New York and Chicago and San Francisco, no doubt. I'm not going to say there. But man, you start going out into some of these places and you will go down the street. You're going to be aghast because you're going to see these little buildings outside the houses, and those are outhouses. They still have outhouses. Now, I'm not trying to say they're all, playing the banjo and it looks like a scene out of Deliverance, but these are economically deprived states. And that is why, like in Virginia, they voted for Trump overwhelmingly because he said, I'm going to keep coal coming here. And at the end of the day, they know coal is going to kill them. They know coal is going to destroy the world, all right? But they need money. And it's one of the best paying jobs in the whole state, right? Is what it is, right? At the end of the day, it's easier to be politically progressive when you have money in your pocket. I mean, let's call it what it is. Same, you could almost say the same with being a conservative too. But now women, after the Dobbs decision and West Virginia being able to enact their own anti-abortion laws, are facing prosecution for fetal remains of their miscarriages. So a woman doesn't go through enough having to deal with the trauma of miscarrying a baby. Okay? Now, if they're in their house, they have a miscarriage, excessive bleeding, it's obviously a very insanely difficult moment. Now, when let's just be brutal here, F it all. They flush the fetus down the toilet. They do, whatever. They bury it in the yard, whatever. Well, that is not actually legal. That is actually not legal. Only a hospital or a designated medical facility can actually dispose of these things, right? And so now we have Raleigh County prosecuting attorney Tom Turman talking about how prosecuting attorneys in West Virginia are getting together, forming legal briefs to start prosecuting women for getting rid of these fetal remains. Like, Jesus Christ, is this really? So if a woman flushes away the remains or buries it, she could be prosecuted. Now, I know a lot of you people out there are saying, John, you're overhyping it. You're being the liberal media. F you. And then when I get done with that one, go F yourself again. Let's talk about what happened in Georgia this year. Oh, wait. Let's get back here. Truman told the news outlet, the kind of criminal jeopardy you face is going to depend on a lot of factors. What was your intent? What did you do? How late were you in your pregnancy? Were you trying to hide something? Were you just so emotionally distraught you couldn't do anything else? Hey, how about this, Tom? We have a big, beautiful bill that's going to kick 11 million people off Medicaid. They don't have medical insurance. They're in their house. They're dealing with the trauma of losing a baby, and you're sitting here wanting to criminally prosecute them. This is the year 2025, and we are dealing with this draconian bullshit. I mean, come on. Son of a bitch. Right? So, before you think, oh, John's just overhyping, just trying to get some views. Yeah. Right. Middle finger you. There is precedent for what this is. In 2023, an Ohio woman named Brittany Watts was charged with abuse of a corpse after she flushed the fetal remains from her miscarriage from her pregnancy. Wow, great. In April of this year, Georgia arrested a woman for allegedly throwing away her fetal remains from her miscarriage. She spent multiple nights in jail and is awaiting charges. Wow. Ain't that just grand? Ain't that grand? It's like I said in the short, my body, my choice. That only applies to men who don't want to get the COVID vaccine. Yeah. They say it's all about lives. It's all these son of a bitch hypocritical men who sit there and go, yeah, well, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I'm not going to, quote unquote, get the jab. It's my body, my right. But if you get pregnant, if I impregnate you, yeah, it's okay. You got to keep that kid. Yeah. What a bunch of bullshit that is. Right. Okay. And you wonder why people get so disenchanted with the political system. I mean, really. I mean, women, over 52% of our population. Jesus Christ. I can't believe they don't form tribes and start hunting men. Just saying. I get it. All right. Let's talk about the current acting chief of FEMA, this tool named David Richardson. He told his staff this week that he didn't know that the United States had a hurricane season. All right. He says, now Richardson has no background in disaster management. Maybe he bought some meme coins. Maybe he, played golf with Trump. It doesn't really matter about being talented. It doesn't really matter about being qualified to do the job that you're appointed to do. It's, hey, I'm a buddy. Look at Pig Hegseth. Hey, I was drinking on the weekends and I was doing a Fox show. Yeah. And I was assaulting women at conferences in Monterey, California, or Carmel, wherever the goddamn hell it was. Yeah. I'm used to it. I understand the culture. Yeah. So he oversees FEMA. And in the recent months, they have had mass staff departures, layoffs, firings, canceled key FEMA training for upper management, and cut back on NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And what they do is do the modeling, they do the satellite imagery of where actually a hurricane is, and they can get very, very good. Well, as we've talked about on previous podcasts, NOAA is actually cutting back on its staff so much that in 7 major areas in the United States, they will not do weather updates at night. They're not launching weather balloons, which is another accurate barometer of where something is. A tornado, a hurricane, a storm of some type. So he recently told employees, just do the same thing he did last year. Hurricane season started on June 1st. They say it's going to be one of the most active in Florida. They're tracking at this moment 19 possible potential hurricanes. Let's see. You know, sometimes you get what you vote for, right? All right. Final story of the day, and this one just, man, you know, I really do, I don't want to bum you out too much. But I think if we don't talk about these stories, nobody knows about them, and you don't understand really how corrupt and how venal this political system has become. So let's talk about the great state of Texas. Kumbaya. You going to find anything out about Uvalde? Nah, we'll just wait on that, right? Seems like both chambers of the Texas legislature have passed a bill banning students from forming LGBTQ focus clubs like GSAs in schools and sent it to the governor's desk. Democratic lawmakers have denounced the bill, SB 12. The bill is hate, says Representative Aaron Schweiner. This is one of the most nakedly hateful bills we have on the floor of this House. Republicans, though, claim that the LGBTQ supportive clubs are sexualizing kids. They're sexualizing them. Yeah. We're not going to allow gay clubs, Representative Jeff Leach said. We shouldn't be sexualizing our kids in public schools, period. And we shouldn't have clubs based on sex. Do you have cheerleaders on the football team? Just asking. Just asking. Maybe I'm wrong. I know you wouldn't promote sex. You wouldn't want to sexualize anything, right? GSAs are gay and straight alliances or genders. Gender sexual alliances. And basically, and I am not a school teacher. I am not a school administrator. From everything I did research for this, it seems like it allows people of alternative sexual preferences to feel welcome. That they're not put in the closet, they're not ostracized, we're not doing the bullshit like Pig Hegseth, let's take the Harvey Milk off a battleship because he was gay. Ooh, he's gay. Oh, by the way, the Treasury Secretary of the United States is gay. And he actually seems like a good human being. I guess that gaydar didn't work when they were nominating him, right? So SB 12 is one of 5 anti-LGBTQ bills that the Texas legislature is considering in the current session. The year 2025, and we're telling kids they can't have a club that says they're gay, that says they're transgender, or any of that. All right. You know, maybe we can just ban some more books. Maybe we can ban Wicked, or maybe we can ban Catcher in the Rye, or whatever it is. Because you think it's not, you know, sexually deviant. Yeah. All right. The year is 2025. And, you know, like I say, and I'm going to have to keep beating the drum on this one, the Republicans have been wrong on every social issue in history. Every one. They were against gay marriages. They were against gays getting jobs in societies. They were against black people integrating into society, into busing, everything. They were against smoking bans. You know, they were against gay people being able to get married and get benefits for their partners. And every time they lose, because they lose every goddamn time, they move on to the next thing. Oh, now it's transgender. Now it's transgender in sports. I don't know what the answer is there. And, you know, me and super producer Stacy disagree on this. And you know what? I understand where she's coming from. Personally, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't. You know, if you want to let transgender people compete in athletic events, give them a handicap. Just do it. They do it in horse racing, right? If you got a super fast horse, they carry 5 or 6 more pounds weight. You want to put, if there's a transgender guy who's going to take all the medals, you make him run 20 yards farther. Or if it's tennis, they're down 2-0 to start the set. Whatever. Figure out a handicap system. We do that in sports. We do that. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's not even worth my time. And I'll tell you this. I goddamn support transgender rights. Because they are just human beings trying to find their way in this world. And it's like one of my friends who's gay, he said to me, he goes, look, this is just who I am. He goes, why would I pick a lifestyle that is this goddamn hard? And ever since that moment, I said, yeah, it's just what it is. It's not a choice. It's who they are. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And they deal with a lot of issues on it because society wants to condemn them. Well, you know what? Transgender are just the same. They are people trying to find their way through this world. And anybody who says they can't and they can't have equal access, fuck you. Straight fuck you. That's what I got to say. Because you know what? They're just people. They're people. They're brothers and sisters, moms and dads, nieces and nephews. They're just people trying to find a moment of happiness in this goddamn world. And then we got this bill here telling them we're sexualizing them because they are who they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. That's it. That's it for me pontificating on society and the transgender movement. If you could, when I run for president in 4 years, when I get these questions, I'm going to give that to my vice presidential candidate, Crystal. Crystal's going to be my running mate, and I'm going to say, you handle that, okay? You're much more eloquent. You're much more smart, you know? All right. That's it for Scorched Earth, and I just want to tell you I love y'all. I appreciate you listening. It means a lot to us, and we're going to win because we're on the side of right, we're on the side of good, and we're fighting for this democracy. We are fighting for it, and we care about it, and we love it, and it is who and what we are. And we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for our brothers and sisters, mom and dads, and our kids' kids. And we're going to win because we are America. All right, thank you. Hit that like and subscribe button, leave some comments, and I'll see you soon on Scorched Earth.